Well, I'm Alice and I'm 39 years old. Let me tell you about a very confusing moment in my life. I was in a kind of complicated situation. I wrote somewhere on the internet asking for advice because I was confused. I said something like, "Hi everyone, I'm going through something kind of strange. I've been dating my boss for a while and it's confusing me. I really like him, but I also love my family very much. I don't know what to do. I need help." But the responses I got weren't nice. People got mad at me. I was feeling really bad. And after a few months, everything got worse. I was in a real whirlwind of emotions. So, let me tell you a little about my life before that. I'm married to James. He's amazing. We moved here a while ago. William, who is my boss, and his wife, Emily, have been our friends for a long time. They have a construction company. Life was good. I was a secretary, but I stopped working when my children were born. I love my kids too much, they mean everything to me. Then, after a while, James lost his job. It was hard, but we managed to get by. But then things started to get complicated. I started to like William, my boss. He's nice, and I felt good with him. But that wasn't right, I know. I was unintentionally hurting my family. And when I wrote that thing on the internet, it was because I was feeling lost. I didn't know what to do. I was confused and needed help. And then, everything fell apart. Things got even worse. I'm trying to deal with all of this. And that's why I'm here, telling you all of this. I know I've made mistakes, but I'm trying to fix them. I love my family more than anything. And I want to do what's right. I just hope they can forgive me. I spent the whole day at home trying to solve our money problems, which made me very worried. It felt like I needed to work magic with the money James was earning. He had taken a loan from his parents to start a business. They sold their house and went to live with James's grandfather while we inherited their house. Expenses increased when our daughters started going to school. My husband started working from home on an online business. This meant I also had the chance to work. I still loved my family very much, but I needed some time to breathe. My husband working from home opened up new opportunities, as now we could share responsibilities with our children. William's wife, Emily, fired the secretary. She found some suspicious messages on his phone and needed a new secretary she could trust. And I had exactly what she needed: the title and experience. With my husband, we split the household chores. He would take care of breakfast and lunch, and I would take care of dinner. He would take the kids to school, and I would pick them up. The financial situation improved because now I was contributing with a good salary. I never felt anything for William when we were just friends. My husband was always more attractive to me. But William was the kind of man who lived carefree, without answering to anyone. He was like the leader of the group, and that impressed me. I had never seen him like that until we started working together. Women smiled at him, men respected him. I knew it was all just appearances, but at that time, I didn't think that way. I thought it was genuine. My first day in the office was quite difficult. I felt completely lost with all those new things, despite watching some videos before. The technology, the programs, everything seemed so complicated. But William offered to teach me for a whole month. Working so close to him not only improved my work, but also gave me confidence. William was the kind of person who could make you feel good, even when things were difficult. I made some mistakes and had difficulties adapting, but he was always there to help me. Sometimes we would have lunch together, and he would give me tips on how to improve at work. Despite being close, he never asked questions about my personal life. I started to like him during that time. At home, the first month was kind of difficult. I was always in a bad mood because work wasn't easy. My kids and my husband held on, even though I wasn't very nice. Han, my daughter, missed me the most. She had to get used to her father taking care of her more. My husband had to learn to cook, and he did even better than me in the kitchen. He did everything so that my kids wouldn't feel my absence so much. He even had to put aside his own work, and I saw that he was upset about it. My older kids also missed me, but they didn't talk much about it. They tried to help their father at home. Hen would cry when I left for work, and my husband would sometimes mess things up, but we understood. In the third month, things at home were getting really tough. I was even thinking about quitting my job. I was becoming closer friends with William, a guy from work, and that was confusing everything. At home, things were rough. My kids weren't doing very well in school, Hen missed me a lot, and my husband was overwhelmed. I was getting used to the job, but my family was suffering. So I talked to William, and he convinced me to stay another month and wait for things to improve at home. He said I should let my husband and kids get more used to the new routine. Think that you're not at home and let them fend for themselves a bit, he said. It was kind of cruel, but I thought it might work. And I thought, what would I do if I went back home? In the 4th month, things at home got a little better. My daughter didn't cry anymore when I went to work. My kids did better in school, my husband was more organized, and I was calmer. I thanked William for the advice. I almost gave up my job, but now I was all confused because of him. I didn't know if he was being nice just because he wanted something from me. I was worried. I came home and hugged my husband. We even had a more intimate moment, but unintentionally, I thought of William. I felt bad. I felt like I had betrayed my husband. I swore to myself that I wouldn't stop loving him. What I felt for William was just a passing thing, I repeated to myself several times. I tried not to think too much about it. At work, it was hard to avoid William. He would call me to talk, and I felt like he was trying to seduce me somehow. My husband was now busier with his work, and I felt even stranger around him. Sometimes, at home, things seemed different. My older kids were each doing their own thing, and Hen was more attached to her father. Even though I was at home, my daughter preferred my husband. My therapist said she felt like I had abandoned her. Before, she would cry when I left for work. Now she would see me and it was like I was a pet. She would spend a little time with me and then go to her father. Now that William was on my mind, I didn't mind not spending as much time with my husband. I only realized I was being kind of cold to him when he said, "You're still having trouble at work, Alice. I don't understand why you're like this. It seems like you're far away, not getting closer to the kids. It seems like your mind is somewhere else." I made up an excuse and said, "Yes, honey, it's just that an important client has come back to the company and I'm worried about it." But the truth was that I was thinking about my boss. Even though I was close to my husband, able to spend more time with my kids, I preferred to think about William. I wanted my husband, but it seemed like I didn't love him anymore. A few weeks ago, before the big company party where I work, William called me to help him choose some floors and tiles. We were very close, looking at the catalogs when suddenly our hands touched. It was like a shock. We looked at each other and almost kissed, but I remembered I'm married and so is he. "We can't do this, you know we're married," I said with my heart pounding. "Okay," he replied with a smile. At the party, everything was very lively with lights, music, and lots of fun. I saw William dancing with someone else and felt very jealous. Neither my wife nor his wife seemed to care. I got really angry looking at him. I wanted to dance with another colleague, but he didn't like to dance. So, he took me to where the friends were. While we were there, William approached without anyone seeing and patted me on the back. I was surprised and a little embarrassed, but I also liked it a bit. After a while, I made up an excuse that I needed to go to the bathroom to get away for a bit. While I was there, I saw William's social media and he was posting about the party. I received a message from him with the number of an office. I thought I shouldn't go, but ended up going to end our work partnership. When I got there, we ended up kissing and doing adult things that aren't nice for children to hear. While we were in this mess, my husband called me several times. I pretended to be asleep in the car and then hid in an office. When he finally found me, I made up an excuse saying I was tired and stressed out from the noise of the party. I felt very guilty for lying to him, but also for doing wrong things with William. Over the weekend, we didn't speak. Now I'm feeling very confused about what to do next. Then, I remember that once, when I was searching for cases of infidelity online, I met a woman on a website where people talked about different subjects. I talked to her and asked for help and advice on something I didn't understand very well at that time. Here are some things she told me. I want to make it clear that it's not right to do what I was thinking of doing, but some people, even without knowing me, gave me tips on how to hide something important. First, she said I should be discreet. That meant not drawing attention to myself with changes in my appearance or behavior. Then, she said I should delete all messages, calls, emails, photos, and videos that could show what I was doing. She also suggested that I enlist the help of a friend to help me invent stories or cover for me when I was doing something I shouldn't. And she said I should continue doing the same things as always so that no one would suspect anything. If I started doing new things suddenly, people might suspect that something was wrong. She also warned me to be careful not to leave any clues that showed I was with someone else. Then, she said I shouldn't trust anyone but myself, because people could end up betraying me or telling others what I was doing. And if anyone asked me, I should firmly deny everything. She told me I shouldn't feel guilty or regretful, but I don't know if that was a good idea. After talking to her, I decided to continue doing what I was thinking of doing. On Saturday, I went to a party. The next morning, when I returned home, I didn't say anything to my husband. I had already decided what to do. Over the next few months, I was going to continue with my normal life, but I was also going to see a special person in secret. I tried not to feel guilty, as the woman had told me to do. In the following days, I tried to make the most of my time with my family. But sometimes it was difficult. When William texted me, I felt tempted to run to meet him. We had some very nice moments together. But also, some problems started to arise with my husband. I began to complain to William about it. And then, something strange happened. I realized that maybe I didn't want to stay married to my husband anymore. I started to think about what it would be like if I separated from him and stayed with William. But then, in a conversation, William said something that made me realize he didn't want to be with me forever. He said that what we had was just that, nothing more. After that, I decided that I didn't want to leave my husband or William. So, I did my best to make sure no one found out what was happening. I never went out with William outside of work, and I tried to keep everything secret when we were together in the office or in the parking lot. I hid everything very well. I could never have a whole life with William. It was just a little game we played. But our one-year anniversary together was coming up, and I was thinking that maybe I could continue this double life. Then one day, I saw William leaving with the accounting secretary. I had suspected her when she left the parking lot in a hurry, fixing her clothes. She didn't even see me. I called William and he answered in his car. I was very angry and sad at the same time. I went to my office and cried a lot. He said he was going to a meeting, but he didn't take even half an hour. I wondered why he had to do this to me. William wasn't my boyfriend, just a special friend. Or maybe I was just a special friend to him. I didn't want to end everything. I still liked him a lot, even though I knew it would end badly. I was afraid he would find someone younger and leave me aside. I thought about the company and saw so many young girls there. William was very good at charming people. Lasting this long with him was already a miracle. When I got home, my husband was working. I called him to the bedroom, and we had a moment just for us, something we hadn't done in months. This time, I really wanted to be with him. Maybe it was because I realized that there was no future with William, or because I felt guilty for neglecting my husband for someone who would never take me seriously. For the next 15 days, I pretended everything was fine with William. I tried to ignore what was happening. During our meetings, I wondered if I wasn't good enough for him, if he didn't like me as much as before. The answer was simple. He had always been like this, always cheating on his wife, and I was just another one. I was very sad when he didn't call me on the day we had planned to go out together. I saw him leaving with the same girl as before. I sent a message, but he didn't reply. I felt betrayed and humiliated. I went home without wanting to be with my husband. I stayed like this for a month. During that time, he hardly found me. Until one day he said we should break up. "You're leaving me for Clarissa, aren't you?" He didn't even deny it. He said he had been waiting for this moment. I cried, but I didn't argue. What can a special friend complain about? I just said okay and left. When I was alone, I cried a lot in the car. I wanted to go back there and ask him to take it back, but it was impossible. It felt like I couldn't breathe. It was hard to calm down at home. I wrote to him, but he blocked me. Okay, I said. At least I had my family, but at that moment, William was still the most important. It was a very difficult week, knowing he was going out with her. I would go to the bathroom and cry. He didn't even call me to work on the projects anymore. I started to think about giving up. I couldn't concentrate on anything. And the idea of staying at home without seeing him for a month, even though it should help me forget him, made me very sad. On the last day of my job, I decided to leave early. The girl from the office left after me. This time, I didn't mind as much. When I left, I went to buy some things for my family, and when I got home, I prepared dinner. It felt like I had returned from a long and exhausting adventure. I told them I would be home for a month on vacation. The first week wasn't as bad as I thought. I spent a lot of time with my husband. We planned a 2-week trip with my kids. I had saved enough money to cover everything. It was wonderful. I forgot all the problems. I had fun like never before. When we returned from the short vacation, we still had a week to spend together. Just my husband and me. It was like a second honeymoon. I felt my love for him renewing. I was as passionate as when I met him in college. We had wonderful moments together with him and my family. Maybe going through tough times with Char in the end made me realize how important my family is. My husband was happy with my change. My kids too. I was happy with them. Those family vacations were amazing. When the month ended, I went back to work. Chad didn't even look at me anymore. I didn't care. He was still involved with the girl from accounting. It didn't take me a month to decide to quit my job. When I returned from vacation, I handed in my resignation letter. I drove home and cried for a while, thinking about what I was about to do. I wondered if I was making the right decision. I imagined the possible consequences, but I was so shaken by the breakup with Char that it hardly mattered what happened. When I got home, I told everything to my husband. How it all started and how it ended. After giving him the best month we had had in years, I ended it all. I destroyed my family. I hurt my children. James thought I was joking at first. But when he saw me cry, he fell silent. He sat down and cried too. His cry seemed to come from the depths of his soul. It broke my heart to cause him this pain. Seeing my husband cry like that affected me deeply. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. There was no way to undo what he had heard. I approached, knelt down, and apologized. James, I never wanted to hurt you so much. Forgive me. I still love you, I swear. We cried together. I begged for a chance, and he, amidst tears, said, "You deceived me for a whole year. I don't know if I can forgive you." He looked at me angrily. I felt scared. He shut himself in the room. I knocked on the door, asking for forgiveness. He came out and said, "James, please, can we fix this?" Fix? How, Alice? He shouted. There's nothing to fix. You've destroyed everything. Selfish. He left the house. I thought he was leaving to think, but James went to William's house. They argued and fought. James ended up hurt. He came back home with his shirt torn, bleeding from the mouth, and with red hands. I was scared. James, what have you done? You need to leave the house, I pleaded. James, please, think about your kids. Please stay. My children came home from school, seeing me crying. I didn't know what to say. My daughter looked for her father. I don't blame James for telling our children what I did. They stopped talking to me, and I understood. James moved to the garage until the day I had to leave. When I left, no one said goodbye to me. There were no goodbye kisses or see you later. Leaving my house was very difficult. I lived there with the love of my life and my children. Now, they asked me to leave for their sake. I cried all the way to my new home. Loneliness embraces me now. My children were with my husband, waiting for me, and they didn't find me. I remember the day I went to work for the first time. My daughter was crying, and James looked at me sadly, asking me to stay. My children looked at me too. But all I could think about was work. I wanted to turn back time, to be with them. I thought if I told James the truth about what happened, he would give me another chance. Maybe I was too naive. James asked for a divorce. It was like a part of me died at that moment. I begged him to reconsider, asked for more time. James, please, think a little more. Don't leave me, please. I didn't want to sign, but my lawyer said it was necessary. I signed the divorce papers. I fell into deep sadness. I cried a lot with my therapist. The divorce finally happened. It was hard for all of us. Now, I can only see my 3 children on regular visits. I live in a new place, but our relationship is not the same. We're trying to improve, little by little. I want to show them how sorry I am for everything that happened, but it's not easy. I tried to talk to James, but he only wants to discuss matters related to our children. He doesn't answer my calls or messages. I feel like I love him more than before. It's been months since my life changed. When my children are not around, I feel terrible. I miss them. I miss James. I always say, I need you, James. I want my life back. I spent many sad days thinking about my family. I want my old life back. Even with all the financial problems, with my little daughter by my side all the time, the older ones coming home from school to eat, the afternoons in the park playing, James looking for work or accepting extra shifts. I miss all of that. I don't like the life I have now. Not at all. My relationship with Chap messed me up a lot. It left me confused. It's the only explanation for me to have told James about the affair myself. I've been in therapy for months. It's helping me understand and adapt to this new life. James and the kids will be moving soon. We decided to sell the house. No matter where they go, I'll move close to them. That was the agreement. If James wants, I'll authorize the sale of the house. I just want to be close to my children. James knows they need me and I need them. He had no choice but to agree. I remember the day I went to work for the first time. My daughter was crying and James was looking at me with those sad little eyes, asking me to stay. My other kids were looking at me too. I just thought about going to work, but now I wanted to go back in time and stay with them. I thought if I told James the truth about being unfaithful, he would understand and give me another chance. But that didn't happen. James asked for a divorce. That hurt a lot, like a wound that never heals. I asked him to think a little more, not to leave me, but it didn't work. I had to sign the divorce papers. After that, I fell into a deep sadness. I cried a lot, especially in therapy sessions. We went through a lot of difficulties during the divorce. Now, I can see my children, but our relationship is not like before. We're trying to improve, but it's hard. I try to talk to James, but he only wants to talk about the kids. He doesn't answer my calls or messages. I miss him more than ever. Even after all this time, I still love him. Now, I'm starting to work again. My therapist thinks it will do me good. But I don't want to waste time with my children. They are my priority. And James, well, I still hope that one day he'll forgive me. My life has changed a lot since then. I'm trying to get used to this new reality, but it's not easy. I just hope that one day things will get better. In the meantime, I'll keep fighting. I want to take this moment to thank all the subscribers for taking the time to read my story. If you liked the content, please leave your like, share, and comment below your reflections. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing to the channel to follow more content like this. Thank you for the support and understanding. Until next time.